Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So this is
Mic
the
check
new
1, 2,
easement
3, 4,
from
5.
today.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So this is
Mic
the
check.
new.
September 14th, Board of Selectmen meeting, Select Board meeting, and entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second?
You have to cite the
the number.
statute.
Oh, that's right, I keep forgetting to cite the statute. It's one of the things I always,
So this is an executive session pursuant to MRSA 1, Section 4056E, to consult
go.
with the town attorney regarding contemplated litigation.
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor? All right, good. We'll go into executive session. At 5:03.
5:03.
stuff where I had it. Okay, we're ready. Okay, the Select Board has just ended our executive session at 6:05. And we discussed it was for MRSA 1, 405, 6E. No decisions were made. This is called to order, and I'll approve the, wait a minute, get it? The minutes from the last, wait a minute, I got to start the meeting again, don't
You did.
I? I did,
You just
okay.
can declare us out.
Declare this out. Okay, so, approve the Selectmen meeting minutes, the last one,
So
August
moved.
24th. So moved. Second? All those in favor? Good. Okay, this is a public forum, opportunity of anyone who wants to address the Board of Selectmen with any issue that is not on the agenda. Anybody?
So good evening, and appreciate the opportunity to address the committee.
You introduce yourself by name and address,
I
please?
will,
Yeah,
yep.
thanks.
My name is Mark Werner. My wife and I own a property located at 76 Pier Road, which is one of the abutting properties to the town's Pier Road Causeway project. While we're summer residents, we've been coming to Maine for most of our lives, specifically here around the Kennebunks, and have family and deep ties to the community. So regarding the causeway, just to start off, we were never notified of this project. We understand the flooding that goes over the causeway, but as an abutter, there was no formal notification process. One would expect that a project of this scope and size, there would be at least some contact to interact with the community, as particularly the ones that abut the property directly, and to my understanding, the other three parties weren't directly notified either. I did hear about the project indirectly, and it just seemed strange to me that I wouldn't have been contacted. But here are my issues. The project design doesn't take into consideration the impact on my property. So I'd like to explain that if I may. I'll be brief. If that was studied by the town, I'd like to see those surveys or that study to understand it more fully, but I don't believe that was studied either from the questions I've asked. Raising the causeway is going to have a significantly detrimental effect on my property if the seawall that's on my property and meets the causeway isn't raised also. And I'd like to go into that a little bit because that is the crux of my issue and why I'm standing in front of you here today. The water that's been washing over the causeway, both ways, depending on the wind and the tide, on a moon tide or a very high tide, and I think we're going to have one tomorrow afternoon, and we'll all see it again, or Saturday afternoon, we'll have to go somewhere if the causeway is raised by 6 feet. That's presuming that there are no culverts incorporated into the causeway, and my understanding is there aren't culverts as part of this project. So it doesn't allow any free flow of water back and forth. If my wall isn't raised, that water is going to seek the lowest point and end up on my property behind my seawall and erode away the abutment there. Right now, my seawall is actually slightly higher than the center point of the road opposite it, where it comes into the property. When the causeway is built, if my seawall isn't changed, there's going to be a 4.5-foot deficit there. Mine lower, the causeway higher. So this is the issue. In addition to that, the town's proposed that they're going to need to raise my driveway up to meet the causeway and my neighbors to my left. They want to raise up my driveway and then immediately grade down the property right down to the seawall again, which you can see where I'm going with this. All of the water coming off our property is going down on the seawall or coming in on the seawall, and it's going to create a structural problem there. The part I don't understand is on the far side of the causeway, so the entrance where there's a boat ramp, some of you may be familiar with that, it's a kayak ramp. That's been addressed. So the kayak ramp's being raised up to meet the road. And I don't understand why you'd address the kayak ramp on my neighbor's, the other abutters, property, and not take a look at the seawall, other than the fact that it's probably a little more work. Effectively, the causeway is getting raised, the seawall's getting raised, and there's sea level rise. The only thing that's not changing is my seawall, so you know where the water's gonna go. If there isn't some kind of a culvert or some ingress and egress of water through that span when the wind's blowing down out of the northeast. So this is basically the issue. I just think it's short-sighted not to include at least a study and understanding of the impact in this zone of my seawall in the project. And I'm accompanied by my engineer here at my own cost. I've employed him to do a peer review of the project. He's confident that the causeway project's currently designed will have a negative impact on my property. His name's Bill Garish. He's sitting right here. He works with Northeast Civil Solutions. He'd be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding what I've just said. But look, in closing, I guess what I'd like to request is that the town put a pause on this project and consider adding my seawall to the project. I'm more than willing to cooperate with the town, get the seawall project analyzed, added to the scope of the project, and work as quickly as possible with you to try and get that accommodated. But I've been unable to get any positive response out of the town people that I've spoken to.
Who have you spoken to?
So they've been willing to share documents with me.
Could you
And
just
so
tell
the
us who-
townsfolk,
tell us
Eric
who's-
LaBelle, who's here with me today,
Okay.
or not here
Okay.
with me, but he's here at the meeting today.
That's the guy?
And that big guy. And Chris Simeone
Yeah.
and Megan McDevitt, who conferred with the engineer I've employed, Bill Garish. So I think I've been talking to the right people, but I don't get any answers around how there isn't going to be a problem with the seawall. And I don't get any answers around if it was studied or why it was studied. And I would hope this group could address my questions today and give me some clarity on it.
Well, I'm not an engineer. We've had engineering people do the studies for us. And I would like to know why, haven't we notified everybody when we were doing this?
Yeah, so we did go through a notification process. I think Eric could speak to that.
Eric LaBelle?
Yeah, Eric?
So Megan McDevitt had reached out to everybody at one time or another. She had met with Mr. Warner's contractor, which is Spang Construction. I believe the owner was there. I believe that's what he was the individual she ended up meeting with. He said he met with her anyways at our meeting, but the,
Tim Spang, yes.
Yeah,
So Tim
yeah.
attended
Yeah, yeah.
a broad meeting
Yeah.
that he invited himself to.
Right.
And listened to Megan.
It was
But that was in September before the project,
Well-
September a year ago, before the project took root or moved forward. We were never contacted about that. And this is the problem I have with it, and asking my other neighbor who owns the kayak ramp, he was never officially contacted by the town either. And I don't understand how it could get this far without
well, which name would you be referring to?
Dr.
Oh, Richard?
Dr. Perry, Dr. Perry. Yeah.
Oh, he's been notified.
He's been quite aware of it.
He
but-
said he was never officially notified. He did
Oh,
also attend the meeting.
he's
but-
been at every meeting that we've had,
Yeah.
so.
But I don't
yeah.
understand why you wouldn't reach out to
Don't
the
look,
other abutter.
yeah.
Especially when I actually stand to lose a lot here with this seawall.
We published notices. We published notices of the meetings.
Yeah.
We published notices of the meeting with the engineers, and they're all public notices. They're on our website, and they're all, everybody's been notified before we had any meetings. So now, I don't know what happened in your case, but it's all published. It's all on the website. It's all out there in the public, so I don't know how you missed it.
How come
So-
Tim didn't contact you? Tim Spang?
So Tim attended the meeting. He told me, hey, look, they're planning on going forward on this. You know.
So you knew
let's-
then?
But
well,
can I
let's stay aware,
just,
but,
Yeah, it does.
can I try something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I like to maybe, so I'd like to if possible, bring it to what Mike brought up in terms of the water. So can we answer that part of it in terms of, so it, so when I'm sitting here listening to Mike talk, I'm thinking, okay, well, if we help Mike, does it,
Mark.
water flows down, Mark, sorry. If
okay.
we help that, do we now, does the next abutter? So in the study, I guess what I'm looking for is in the study done by the engineering group that we employed, is there a plan that shows the butters will not be affected, or are we looking for that? I think that's
did.
really.
We
what's
have a
sort of
couple
looking-
of issues. So one is the concern about notification.
Yeah.
You know, we did do a mailing before we applied for the grant. We did have our engineers reach out to people. They thought Tim Spang was representing you and that he was engaged. We can agree to disagree on whether
So
he was or
Tim's the
not.
contractor at our,
Yep.
we were doing
Yep.
work on the property. And
So I don't want to continue to
We're sorry that-
disagree.
sorry
But I'm
that
saying
is.
that we felt in good faith that we were making contact. Maybe it wasn't to the desire you wanted, but we did feel like that. So in terms of where we are now, certainly I think our staff has told me that they have heard your concerns. And Eric can speak to where we are. I think you're as aware as that. But for the board's enlightenment, I mean, he has hired an attorney and he has hired a consultant, and we are reviewing their findings. And so we are aware that those are some concerns, and we are trying to figure out the best way to address them, is what I would say. I don't think anybody has, I don't know, I wasn't there when you met, but no one has closed the door on that. I think our staff has communicated to me that we're trying to work that out.
Okay, so, I'd appreciate it if being kept up to speed on that in terms of how you're working it out and, what
Well,
your
when we're
findings are.
talking, when we're
So-
talking to your engineer and waiting for, I mean, we are assuming your consultants are talking to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So, but I just don't want to get caught in another assumption where, like, look, typically when the Corps of Engineer does a study, DEP does a study, a town does a study, they send a registered letter to the abutters saying, hey, we're looking at doing this on your property. I understand your point. It's on the website, great, but if I'm not
No, but the
going
notices
out-
went out too. No, it wasn't
didn't-
just the website, the notices went out. And like she said, like Lori said, Tim Spang was your agent, and Tim Spang was in touch with everybody here. So I don't know why you weren't informed by your agent.
So, I
So-
mean, regardless, our intent is to work through this, to understand. Now, I'm not saying that we're gonna get to 100% agreement, but before we get there, we would come back to the board. And so, I don't wanna speak for Eric, but my understanding is he's consulted with your attorney. We've understood that your engineer is preparing information. We're waiting to receive that information, is I think where we are, so that we can better understand the impacts from your perspective and address those with our hired consultants as well.
Great, well, that would be very helpful. I'd appreciate it. Obviously, we'd like to work with the town to kind of get this. I know you're looking at doing shovels in sometime mid-October. I get that. To me, it's a fairly simple solution. Make the corner with a slight seawall rise, and it gets away from a lot of the grading and sloping problems that are currently not being considered to be a problem, that are going to be a problem on this seawall. So
And
I'd
if-
appreciate your working with us
And
on
if
that.
you could, Tracy O'Rourke is our town clerk, if you could give her your contact information.
I will do
So
that.
that I make
Okay.
sure I have that as well.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
You bet.
Do we have any other issues with other abutters, or is this, the way the project is set up, really the only one that would have a
We have
negative
talked
impact?
with all the other abutters.
Everybody.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Chief?
Good evening, folks. Just a quick update. I wanted to let you know that last night I attended awards ceremony for the Chamber of Commerce, and Sergeant Jason Hafner was awarded the Employee of the Year from the business community, so that was a proud moment for us. And just an update on the storm. So it's going to affect us on Saturday, where the last update was we're expecting 30 to 50 mile an hour winds, about an inch of rain, but we're going to expect quite a bit of splash over, 15 to 20 foot seas. So the normal flooding areas in town should be an area that people should avoid. We're going to have extra staff out, barricades, and I hope folks will take the time to secure any kind of lawn furniture, get their boats secured, anything outside that might get blown around, and to avoid going around barricades. That's, you're breaking the law by doing that, and stay out of any standing water, because that could be an issue. Be prepared for power outages. CMP's predicting about 300,000 power outages during the storm on Saturday. So Saturday morning to Saturday night. So just be prepared. That's all I say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody out in? No? Okay, so moving on. We're going to authorize the warrant and the easement for the November ballot. Laurie?
So in your packet is the warrant for the November ballot, and so we need the board to sign it. We had in your packet one warrant, and Mary Beth noted to me today that the note of explanation under question 3 had not been updated to say 2 properties and 6.3 million. So we brought another copy for you tonight that has that change. We also have the final easement language for the voting in November. And we gave you, that's been approved by Mr. Green's attorney as well as ours. And so we'd like, acknowledgement that that's the easement you would like to bring before the voters as well.
Okay, so we want to do them each individually? We want to do them as a...
You can do them as a group or
Let's do 'em as
individually,
a
whatever
group.
your
Okay.
pleasure.
So these are the questions. Question 1's acceptance of the Kennebunkport 2030 Comprehensive Plan. That's warrant question number 1. Warrant question number 2 is amendment to the street opening ordinance. Question number 3 is the construction of a new town hall. Question number 4 is the sale of a school street property. Question number 5 is the Cape Porpoise Pier funding. And question number 6 is the easement agreement with the Green Marine Corporation. I would entertain.
And now you have a question
Number
7
7.
7.
Oh, question 7,
on the back.
on the back. Okay, sorry.
Fire station.
Okay, acceptance of the Cape Porpoise Fire Station. Sorry, question 7.
I'll make a motion to authorize the November warrant.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye, okay.
So we didn't vote on the easement, I
I'm
looked.
gonna do the, I was
Okay.
gonna do the easement separately, so, wait a minute, I got it right here. So the easement, do we wanna go into the detail of the easement, or just, no?
No.
Okay. So we need to also vote on the easement. This is an easement with Green Marine Corporation on Langsford Road. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second?
Okay, thank you.
And
All
We
those in
didn't vote.
favor?
Nope.
Okay, so all of the warrant articles and the easement have been approved. Item number 6. This is good news. Accept $500,000 donation, anonymous donation for the purpose of supporting the new town hall. $500,000.
So moved.
Second. And
All those in favor?
With much
that's a big,
appreciation.
that's a big, yeah, that's a big wow.
That was a big wow.
Any opposed?
Okay, certification of the referendum questions for the November town meeting warrant. We have all of these have been discussed before. First one is the certification of the proposed ordinance revisions, town of Kennebunkport. Do we want to read these as well? Update the comprehensive plan for the town of Kennebunkport. That's number 1. I had number 2.
Doing these as a group, yes?
Yeah, I was just gonna.
That's cool.
I was gonna just read them off, yeah. And the other one is the proposed ordinance revision is the amendment to the street opening ordinance. Sorry, I'm going through these things.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
All, second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, okay. So we need to set a public hearing for the town meeting warrant. Suggestion is, and for the November election, I'm sorry, the suggestion is October 12th.
So moved.
Second.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
These are different from the town hall meetings?
So, we were going to do another hearing on the town hall on the September 28th. This public hearing is state statute required for the warrant because it's a referendum question, and then we had the 2 tours.
Okay, thank you.
There will be other, all of the warrant items will be discussed on the 12th, is that correct? They would all be available for discussion, not just town hall. Good.
Okay.
So move.
Okay, so moved.
We already.
We did it?
We did it.
Well, I'll move
Yeah,
it to
I,
All those in favor? We did. Okay. Just a lot of them tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
9.
9, consideration of RSU 21 school board applications. So what we'd like to do is have each, we have 4, and we'd like to have each person come up and, we have your resumes, we've all been through your resumes. We have not discussed them among ourselves, as far as I know. And we would like to have each of you come up and do a 3-minute, approximately 3-minute introduction of yourself, so we get to know you. And the way we're going to do this is in alphabetical order.
And we should probably just note that we had 5,
We had 5.
and 1 person withdrew.
One per, yeah. So we have 4. So the first person in alphabetically would be Tom Foley. Is Tom here? There he is, yep.
Evening. My name is Tom Foley, and I'm a candidate for the RSU 21 school board vacancy. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I'm a husband of 63 years, a father, grandfather, and a consummate volunteer. I've had 3 careers. I'm a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. During my 20-year career, I was an assistant professor at Providence College for 5 years, a member of the Faculty Senate, and the Army College Scholarship Committee. During that time, I also earned a Master of Business Administration degree from Bryant University. Upon retirement from the Army, I embarked on an 18-year career in human resources, culminating as the Director of Human Resources, Procurement, and Facilities at Ocean National Bank of Kennebunk. My wife and I operated the Alewife House Bed and Breakfast in our 1700s farmhouse before moving to Cape Porpoise 20 years ago. Since then, I have felt a need to give back to the community in a number of ways. I was elected to the Board of Directors of SAD 71, representing Kennebunk. I have been asked to serve on the boards of the new school, the Kennebunk Rotary Club, the United Way of York County, the Kennebunkport Residents Association, and the Atlantic Hall. At the Rotary Club, I chaired the Scholarship Committee and the Human Resources Committee at the United Way. I also serve on the advisory board to the Lincolnville Black History Museum in St. Augustine, Florida. In addition, I volunteer as a painter at Habitat for Humanity Homes in York County, and as a driver for homebound citizens through the FISH program at the Senior Center. Lastly, my wife and I were volunteer executives at the International Executive Service Corps, which is similar to the Peace Corps except for experienced people. We did that 3 times in Egypt, where we helped developing computer companies with human resource issues. And we also went once to Armenia to help families learn and how to operate, finance, and market bed and breakfasts. I feel the wisdom and acumen provided by my education and experience equip me to be well qualified to return to the school board representing Arundel, Kennebunk, and Kennebunkport. I want to do this because it is consistent with my values to give back to the community. I will listen to the views of citizens with varying opinions, parents, students, teachers, and administration to prioritize the best learning experiences for all students, regardless of learning methods consistent with fiscal responsibility. I'd be honored to be selected for this opportunity to serve Kennebunkport.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will we have an opportunity for questions, Mike, or how did you handle, how would you
Um,
handle that?
You can, yes, but you can ask questions as they're up.
Just
Let's
as,
do that, yeah.
just as they're,
Yeah.
as they're available. Okay, thank you. I was just curious.
Do you have any questions?
No,
Oh,
I just want to make sure that going forward and what happened. Yeah.
okay. Donald Gasink.
Happy Thursday. It's a funny Dutch name. It's Gay Sink, as if there's a Y there.
It's a gay sink.
Gay
okay.
Sink. I was born in Minnesota, came to Rochester, New York for middle school and high school, then went to college, taught for 3 years, then went to law school, then moved to Maine, and we've raised our 4 children here in Maine, primarily in Augusta. I served on the school board in Augusta for 2 terms, and I don't have a list of impressive accomplishments like the predecessor speaker. I did, however, learn while in the school board what I think are important things about issues between the administrators and the school board, about issues between the teachers union and teachers and the administration, and of the budget issues, particularly involving the assistance given to particular classes of students. I offer that experience for this board to consider, the
Can you
selectmen to
speak
consider.
up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing
Yes.
you.
Let me try again. Which parts did you not hear?
Just keep going.
Okay, well, I'm almost done. I'm a better listener than a speaker. We've been here, I guess I'm only 2/3 a Mainer, because 1/3 of my life was before I got here. But all of my educational connections with my children, and now 9 grandchildren, have involved Maine and New England. We live, my wife and I of 50-plus years, have lived in Augusta where we raised the kids, and we moved down here when we did the typical winterization of the parents' cottage in 2003. I do have a question of the selectmen. When you mentioned the November vote, I realized that what I was told by somebody who told me I should apply for this position, but they didn't know how long the term is. So if you choose me or any of us, are we serving for 1 more year or 2 years, or what's the term that's remaining?
Terminate until next June.
Next year? Okay, thank you.
Yep. The election next year.
Okay. If you've all read my resume, it's all there, what I've been doing most of my life, professionally and in terms of community activities, primarily in Augusta. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I do have a question, though. You're
Sure.
currently a lawyer. You're still.
I still am. I still am practicing,
serving
although it's mostly now for the Volunteer Lawyers Project.
Yeah, that's,
I give a lot of free advice.
that's, I was about to say that's rare, but I'm not going to go there.
But you did it.
But that I did anyway. But, that's, can kind of be a solitary position. I mean, what experience have you had working in groups or with teams or as a lawyer? What kind of experiences have you had with that?
I don't think it would be fair to say I've worked with teams or groups substantially.
Yeah.
For example, although I lived in Augusta, I had nothing to do with state government after I left the Attorney General's office, although the agency I was representing had me represent 1 case through to conclusion before the Supreme Court. Most of my work has been with individuals.
Yep.
Or volunteering at the Y, if that
Well,
equates to teamwork, because I coached soccer for a decade and a half with some other fathers and mothers. But I think from what I learned on the school board for the 2 terms,
Yeah.
I think I know how to work with a team, because you have to work together on the school board through committees,
Right.
primarily. The committee issues were difficult, we had some disputes with the full board and what certain committees did that we had to work through as a group,
Yeah.
which I think worked out fine.
And come next June, do you know if this is something that you would want to continue?
I would.
doing? Yeah.
Although I'm 78, so if something medically happens, but no, I'm in good health.
True. Yeah.
I'm active, tennis, golf, body surfing at the beach. Thank you.
Thank you. I owe an apology to Diane France. I'm having trouble with the alphabet tonight. So, Diane France, sorry.
No problem at all.
Diane, you may want to try to crank that mic down if it'll come. Hold, yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. I wanted to thank you for allowing me to come before you today. My name is Diane Franz, and I live at 160 Main Street in Kennebunkport. And my husband and I moved here in 2014, but we're no strangers to Maine because our son came in 2005 as a teacher at Bowdoin and now is a tenured professor there. So we had a large number of years coming up to Maine to visit. Education is really important to us. We currently have 4 members of our family that are teaching in New York and Connecticut. Our son is in Maine, and we've had 3 retired teachers. So you can see it's a profession that has been part of our lives. I think that one of the things that is important to me is the significance of schools. You know, we know there's people move to communities because schools, if the schools are good, they want to go and buy homes where those property values will be up. But there's something more for me. I think the RSU 21 school system has helped to build academic foundations. It's also inspired to commit to the community, and it's fostered respect, hard work, empathy, all attributes that when our students leave here, they take that RSU 21 legacy with them when they go to other communities. And while we wish they would all come and back to us and stay here with us, we know the reality is that people move around to different cities and states, but they take that RSU legacy with them. There's a lot of work that's going on in the school board right now, and it's very exciting. The strategic plan is a huge undertaking. They're doing a 2.0 data-driven process, learning whether or not children are learning, if they are great, if they're not, what can we do that's better, how can we help that? They're doing professional development, which we've already seen from what the school board has reported, is showing that there's much fewer people that are leaving their positions. Every 3 years, the board has to review all of the public policies and procedures, and they're in that process now. Huge undertaking. The idea of perhaps seeding a vocational education program is one that is very significant. And the superintendent has really committed to extraordinary strong communications, both internally and externally, about what's happening at the school. The board's reason for being is very clear. It takes the responsibility for the best results for their children, for our school children, very, very seriously. I've participated in a number of school board meetings over the course of the last year, and my experience has been so good. The school board president has navigated through some of the most difficult conversations, both between school board members and with members of the community in public comment. the school board members themselves come with an integrity and knowledge that is unsurpassed. And the superintendent is so innovative in the ideas that she's brought forward. And most importantly, the respect that she shows for the entire RSU 21 population, whether you're a bus driver, you're an administrator, you're a teacher, a student, you work in the cafeteria, is unprecedented. And it's no wonder that she actually gets that respect in return. Each meeting of the RSU 21 board is very different, but there is absolutely no question when I am there that the board members have only the best interests of the students at heart in everything that they decide. I would love and feel privileged to be able to work with the superintendent, Cooper, and with this board to participate in substantive conversations that I will bring with caring words, and to get to know what the beliefs and the feelings are of both the members that serve and of the entire community. I would really love the privilege of being able to work with this school board and the superintendent over the short period of time of 9 months. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have questions?
Diane, when you say 9 months, are you planning to just do the 9 months, or would you?
No, I you know,
So-
it's just a statement, but if the opportunity was presented to run, I would definitely.
And you've attended?
I have
many
for
of the
almost,
meetings?
yeah, I would say a good part of a year.
Okay.
And also the committee meetings as well, some online, but it's quite a place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we have Rachel Kennedy Smith.
Two hands, though. Yeah, there you go.
We're like-minded there. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hello. So I'm Rachel Kennedy Smith, and I appreciate the opportunity to put a face to a name. I am an engaged mom of 3, and so I see every day the value of our schools coming off the school bus. You know if it's a good day or a bad day, and there to respond. And I have a background that I think really complements the needs of this position. So I'm a PhD biomedical scientist. I'm a neuroimmunologist by postdoc training, and I have deep ties to Maine. My family and I, we love Maine. So my PhD I got at the University of Maine. I also studied at Bowdoin College, and I had to unfortunately leave the state of Maine for a bit to do my postdoc in New York City. And while I was in New York City, I was a teacher at Bard High School Early College. I taught biology, I taught humanities. I was a #1 teacher there. I also taught at Columbia University, and I have just a tremendous respect for people who are teachers. It is a calling, and it takes special skill, and I understand the challenges there. I also understand the challenges of being a student. I was a forever student. My parents were really glad when I got my first job. Currently, I'm a senior director at Moderna, and I chose to join Moderna midway through the pandemic when Omicron was surging because I'm a problem solver and I thought I had skills to contribute. Similarly here, I'm a problem solver, I have skills to contribute, and I want to make a difference. I'm an avid supporter of DEI, avid. Completely avid. I have some examples for you if you'll permit me. One, I spent over a month in rural Uganda. I fundraised to bring microscopes to the community there, and I also had a project where while I was in Uganda, I learned how to sew on sewing machines there from the 1950s and created reusable maxi pads, because 1 week out of every month, girls don't attend school in rural Africa when they're menstruating. So this was a solution to that problem. I also, 2 years ago, started a diversity in medical affairs program so that minorities could network. I really take the responsibility of a position of power very seriously. And I think it is tremendously important to give back and to model for children how we can give back. So I'm really excited to be considered, and thank you so much for considering me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me about your term on the Board of Ethics in Bangor, Maine.
Yeah, so I just had a child and had an opportunity to serve and took it. And thankfully, it was pretty uneventful. And what I'm told is that you really don't want to engage a Board of Ethics. So we did have meetings where we met, but no serious topics to cover.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's a quiet group.
It was a quiet group. And also during the pandemic, of course, people were hesitant to meet for various reasons. Yeah.
Anybody else have questions?
It certainly sounds like you do have a lot on your plate. Would this be something that next June you would think you'd have the bandwidth to?
Yes,
continue it?
absolutely. And before I even put an application in, I spoke to the two who are now serving on the board, because I don't accept any responsibility unless I can take it head on. I don't want to do a poor job. And if there's somebody who's better suited to do the job, by all means, I would give it to that person, because I want our schools to succeed. It's not about me having the position. I just think that I have skills and experience that would be well suited. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to comment? Loretta? If you're commenting, make sure that we're not endorsing anybody.
Absolutely.
That we're just commenting on the situation.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to speak. I am Loretta McDonald and served one term on the RSU 21 board. My sincerest thanks to all of the candidates willing to step up and represent our town on the board. In the last 6 election cycles, we have only had 2 contested races. It's very encouraging to see so many people volunteer to support our children and staff and community in this way. It is a challenging, time-consuming position and most rewarding. If you are not selected to fill this position, please consider joining one of the school board committees. The Finance Committee is in need of a Kennebunkport representation, as Kennebunk and Arundel both have dedicated community members participating in the budget process and reporting back to their select and budget boards. Lastly, it will serve all well if the board selects a candidate who is committed to running in June, as there is a steep learning curve and important the school board is at full strength. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thanks, Loretta. Anybody else? Nobody else? Oh, there is.
Hi there, my name is Ashley Baker Cook. I live at 333 Goose Rocks Road. I'm a parent of 2 students at Consolidated School. In full disclosure, I am also an RSU 21 staff member, but I'm a kindergarten teacher at Kennebunk Elementary School. But tonight I'm here as a parent and a taxpayer who has been deeply disturbed by the recent turmoil and turnover on the school board, specifically with relation to the district's DEI work. I would love to see the town board ask the candidates their opinions on that topic. I know some have spoken to it and some have not. But given the fact that in the most recent election, the Kennebunkport voters elected by a solid margin a candidate whose platform supported the inclusive educational principles that RSU 21 is working towards, I think that that would be an important piece to consider. I just wanted to speak to 2 points. First, my ideal candidate would be somebody that has ties to the school community, having experience in education is really important, and who is committed to the work of the board and committed to staying on, like Loretta said, staying on after the election in June if elected, because it is a big process to learn the nuts and bolts of the board. And then my second point would be that I would urge the town board to make this decision in a timely manner, because the school board has already begun its work for the year. Committee meetings are happening. There's a meeting next week to workshop the school budget and talk about that process, which would be great learning for any new candidate, any new board member. And you know, meetings and committee meetings are already happening, so this person that you choose is already going to be coming in behind the 8 ball. So if we could get them in there sooner, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. So what's the pleasure, board? I was thinking that maybe what we ought to do is discuss this and then make a decision at the next meeting.
I think it's a good idea.
I'm comfortable with that.
You can,
And it doesn't matter to me.
okay.
I'm good.
You good? Okay, so we're going to take everything under advisement, and we will make a decision at the next board meeting,
Which is September 20th.
which is September 20, yeah, it's September 28th. So by September 28th, we'll have a new candidate. This is the first time we've met, people have actually met some of these people and candidates, and I think it's,
knows some of the people, but.
yeah, but we don't know
But
all
not
the
in this
people, not all the
Hey.
people, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was just curious what the discussion process looks like, because you said you just met some of the candidates. Is that a process that happens at a meeting, so the discussion will happen at the next meeting, or is that a discussion that happens
Any
behind
meeting
closed doors?
any meeting we have has to be in public.
Okay, so it's not something that would be discussed in an executive session. You'll be
No.
discussing the candidates at the next meeting.
Exactly.
Thank you
Correct.
for
Yeah,
clarifying.
no, sure.
So, Mike?
Yes,
yeah,
sorry, Meredith.
That's all right. I would just like to echo Loretta's comments that I know we had just a couple people volunteer for the school board run this past year, and so it was a pleasure to see so many candidates sign up for this right now. So very, very grateful, and thank you for coming this evening.
And so many qualified candidates. This
Yep.
is not going to be an easy choice.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, this was a pleasure to see this many people wanting to be a candidate for this position. It's a first time I think it's happened to us, and it's really nice. Thanks. A long time. Thank you very much. Okay, authorization to contract with a website vendor. Yanina?
Good evening, everyone. Yanina Nicholas, Director of Support Services. And I am here tonight to talk about our website committee recommendation. So as you might remember, we have a website advisory committee that was comprised of residents, business members, and employees. We met a few times during the summer because we felt there is a need for our town to update our website. Our current website was developed in 2014, which is kind of a long time ago, and it's never been redeveloped or redesigned because it was not part of the packet. So our website committee met, and we created an RFP that was on our website and on multiple other websites. We also reached out to different vendors and asked for the proposals back. We did receive 6 proposals, and we opened those on July 28, 2023, this year. So after we opened them, we quickly looked through it, but then we had a meeting with the committee where I gave them packets, and I developed a table, just a rating table with a timeline about their past experiences, about their team and staff, and general impression from the proposal. I asked the committee to review those proposals and give me some feedback. After we reviewed those proposals, they ranged from 17,000 to 80,000, so there's a big range there. After we reviewed those, I received feedback, and we chose top 3 candidates, top 3 vendors for the website. Those top 3 vendors were Revise, Civic Plus, and Town Web. And the reason for the choice was because mostly because they all were involved in municipal websites. The rest of the vendors were more so on the business side, in the private sector. After we after this, we gathered again, and we did some demos with these 3 vendors, and we shared our thoughts and feedback and comments. And after some deliberation, the website advisory committee decided to recommend Revise. So Revise, as you will see in your packets, is on the lower price scale, and we try to do our due diligence to make sure that Revise, we're not just going with the lower price, but also with somebody who will meet all our needs. So we were hesitant between Revise and Civic Plus, and again, you can see the price is substantially large. There is a big difference there. So after the committee sent me some comments after our meeting, and Revise has all the same functions as Civic Plus. They're a newish company. They also have a lot of flexibility. They don't have templates. They build their website for your needs, so it's going to be wherever we want and need, which will take some work, but my team is eager to take that on. And also, one of the suggestions from my committee member was to call nearby communities who use Revise and just ask for a feedback. And believe me, I called many communities. I talked to Wells, I talked to York, Sanford, Saco, I talked to Camden, talked to Auburn. I mean, I called like you name it. So I talked to multiple communities who use both Revise and Civic Plus. Behind you, you can see an example of Revise. That's Saco. They just redeveloped their website. They did choose Revise. So their communications person said they're very happy with their choice. They loved working with the team. They loved the notification system. They have a lot of things on their plate right now, what they want to add and develop. But at the end of the day, they loved Revise. So I also have a few committee members here. So I don't know if do you want to talk about the process? No. Okay. So.
We believe you.
Thank you. Well, I just want.
I wish you were a little more enthusiastic, that's all.
I can add. So what we are recommending to the Board of Selectmen is to go with Revise, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions and see if there are any hesitation about the process or anything else. I just want to add quickly, we did budget for $20,000 for this project, so Revise would be in our budget frames. So, yes, Jill.
Have you spoken about any changes thereafter? Because we all know things change and...
Yes. So Revise as a company does 4 changes, big changes every year. They do not affect the operations on the website. They do it on the back end, and then you magically wake up and your website looks perfect. They also do offer a free kind of redesign process after 4 years, and actually the town of Camden is going through redesign process. So they had Revise for 4 years, and they're going to do redesign, which is great because, you know, everything moves and changes. So that would be a perfect thing in this packet.
Okay.
What's the time frame?
So we are looking. I think we budgeted a good conservatively time-wise. I would say about up to 20 weeks will take the whole design process, but it really depends on what we need and what we want. So my hope, if the Board of Selectmen will approve this, I will reach out again to my committee and see if they would want to be involved. Anyone else is welcome to be involved in this process. I also have a plan with my communications person to go about the branding strategies of our website. So it really depends on, I guess, if we know what we want, and I think we have a good idea, but we will communicate with the board and have some feedback from you.
So the short answer is we're hoping for 6 months.
Okay.
But
That's
our, but our drop dead is July 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. July 1, we have to launch it. That's right. There is no back.
Because I'm not paying 2 companies.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Go.
okay, so the 3,900 hosting the first year, and then annual hosting 3,900 year subsequent. How did that correlate with what we're doing now and with others?
So right now we have Civic Plus, and we pay $5,800 a year. So as you can see in the prices presented by Revise, it would be substantially less afterwards. And even if we would go with Civic Plus, the price would stay around 6,000, so 5,800. It would still stay the same. So we're not just making the better choice price-wise for the whole project, but we are also making smarter decision long-term for this.
And what did you feel like when the committee started going through other towns' websites? Did you feel that we were making any kind of trade-offs from what we're trying to accomplish here? Because we're trying to accomplish a nice big move in terms of the community's reaction to the website and how they can access the information and, you know.
Yeah, and as I said, it really will depend on the whole design process, and we have few ideas. My hope, we will do the whole tour of the website. We will have some sessions for our community to present new website. But also, the biggest point of going to this new website is communication, because we really lacking with our current website. We are lacking this piece. We are trying to do our best, but just on the back of it, we cannot use our full potential. One of the features we're looking into is text notifications, especially the emergency text notifications or for the board agendas. I know a lot of times I receive phone calls, where is the agenda? And I'm like, it's there. But I think if you receive text notification, it will be a big piece for it.
Yeah, I mean, if we could, I mean, when I was reading through the packet, it feels like we're going out of the dark ages here.
We
So,
are.
you know,
We
you know,
are indeed,
If
yes.
this comes to fruition, that's why I was wondering about just what you saw from the Wells and the Sacos and their websites, and it feels like they delivered then on that.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to their communications, mostly I talk to communications directors, they received feedbacks from residents, and their residents loved it. And I think residents-wise, the population is pretty similar to Kennebunkport, just because the communities are nearby. They didn't have much of the negative things to say, mostly about training. Of course, training can change, is big for everyone, and it's hard for everyone. But I think we can accomplish this, and we can go forward with good. We have a good plan for training both staff and our residents.
Okay. My very last question is, so in 4 years, they offer a free service is that in infinity? Every 4 years we get this, or is it just a one-time 4 years update?
That's a one-time. We will have to sign a contract with them, and that would be a one-time update.
Okay.
And then we can either go with somebody else or see if we like this company. We will have some room for.
And from what I understand, if in the future we ever decided that this platform was easier than the other vendors to go to somebody else, we don't start all over again.
That is correct. So one of the pluses with this platform was, even if the company disappears tomorrow and we have website with them, we will still have website. So the platform that it exists on will still stay with us. We just will not have the support if they will decide to dissolve, but we will have the website itself. So we will still have the time to go and switch and do something else, but I don't think we will need it, because from what I've seen and the feedback I received from nearby communities, I think this is a smart decision.
Okay. Thank you.
I entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the proposal to contract with the vendor whose name I'm going to find in a second. Why don't you remind me?
Revise?
Very good idea. For $17,700.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, nice job.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you.
And thank you to my committee. They were incredible. My committee was the best committee ever. Just-
Okay. Award the solid waste and recycling collection contract. Laura?
Yes, I'm going to ask to put Chris Simeone up here on Zoom. Chris is at home right now, taking care of a sick child. So we have here with us tonight the best that Casella has to offer us. And that is Chris McHale, Talia Bent, and Rick Moriarty. Rick is the one driving around collecting trash when everything else is falling apart. And Chris is our regional manager, and Talia keeps them straight.
Right on.
So as you know, our contract expires in August of 2024. We were told by our current vendor, Casella, and by other vendors out there, that the industry is moving away from manual pickup and that they are moving to automated waste pickup due to efficiencies, changes, challenges in the marketplace with personnel, finding the labor to do manual pickup, and certainly liability and workers' comp issues and concern about employee health. So with that knowledge, we put out an RFP to move to an automated pickup. So some people might ask, why are we doing this in 2023 when the contract doesn't expire until 2024? And the main reason is the supply chain and the implementation issue. And so we need to give our vendor time to purchase a truck that is going to service our community, as well as we need to implement an automated waste system with our residents, which will take some time. So out of the month that we had the RFP bid document out on the website, and we sent it to several vendors, we got those back, and we only received one bid, and that was from Casella. Basically, in our region, Casella and Waste Management are the two vendors who do this type of work, and Waste Management did respond to the RFP, but let us know that they would not be undertaking a contract at this time. So what we had asked for were two options basically in the bid, and that was one, to do recycling every other week. So right now we do waste collection weekly and recycling every other week. And so we asked for that same service, as well as the service of moving recycling to weekly. I would say it's probably one of the most asked for services from our community that I get, especially in this marketplace, and people's desire to be able to move recyclables and try to remember what week the recyclables are getting picked up. So the bid results were $543,713 for option one, which was automated collection and weekly recycling. And option two, the price was $533,015. So understanding that currently for pickup, the town budgets just under $320,000 annually, you can see that this was about a $200,000 increase. And so after we opened the bids and I picked myself up off the floor, we called Casella to try to get a better understanding of what was driving those costs. And they did certainly talk about that, and I'll let them talk about that tonight. And what we did was we had a meeting, Chris Simeone, myself, and John Dykstra, who's chair of the Solid Waste Committee. We met and talked about these challenges and what was driving these costs, to see if there are other ways we could reduce that cost. So they went back to the table with their pencils and calculators, and they came up with some alternatives. So those alternatives are included in your memo. The first one would be to keep weekly recycling and to move Goose Rocks Beach pickup during the summer to either Friday or Monday. Currently, for basically Memorial Day through Labor Day, we move Goose Rocks Beach pickup from Friday to Saturday, and then we move them back to Friday. And one of the challenges in their costs is this weekend work, you know, bringing in somebody for an extra day. And so they did come in with a new cost proposal if we moved Goose Rocks Beach to Friday or Monday, and that cost is $506,713, or a savings of $37,000 from option one. The second option they came up with was option 1B, which was moving Goose Rocks Beach to Friday or Monday, and then adding to that no weekend collection of barrels. So we have about 37 barrels out in the community between Dock Square, our parks, and at the beach. And so during the busy months, Casella comes in and picks those up on a daily basis. And so that is another cost that they incur with weekend work, and especially in an automated system, which they want us to move to. It would require a commercial driver's license to do that. So if we were to move Goose Rock's Beach to Friday during the summer months, as well as remove the barrels, the savings was $60,382. So we did have other conversations with Casella about removing barrels totally from the contract. We talked to Old Orchard Beach, who had signed a contract recently as well, and they have a separate contractor who does barrels and their public restrooms. We spoke to one of the local vendors who does solid waste collection for private residences, and they informed us they were not interested in any weekend work, and they were not interested in the barrels at Dock Square, and they were not interested in coming every day. So I'd say they were not interested. We looked at other options, including picking up them ourselves. I mean, one of the challenges is the town of Kennebunkport does not have a transfer station, and so if we had hired our own staff and truck to go out and pick up, we have no place to take this. We'd have to drive it someplace. We could potentially get a dumpster, the Public Works, and try to have an individual go around and collect those. I think the cost we would incur for that service would be more than the savings. And so for those reasons, town staff is recommending that the board consider option 1A. So what that would do is allow for weekly recycling, and it would move Goose Rock's Beach to a weekday, Friday or Monday, for collection year-round. So I know there's a lot in here. I'm going to let Casella stand up and talk about their commitment to the community of Kennebunkport and what is driving these costs.
Hi, thank you for having us here today. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Yeah, we greatly appreciate the partnership we have had over the years. You know, certainly as we started reviewing these costs that we had incurred over the past few years, you know, as everyone's seen around, the inflation has gone through the roof over the past couple of years and really impacted.
And Chris, just to pause for a minute, the last contract we signed was back in 2019.
Yeah.
So it was right before the pandemic and cost increases. So we were in a very different time period, just for people's reference.
Yeah, and what we really got impacted on are, one was the labor, which is probably the biggest driver. Over the past few years, our labor has increased. We last year, in 2022 alone, had to do $1 million a year increase to our labor, just to keep employees and be able to keep servicing the communities. You know, what we don't want to be is in a situation where we're calling you and telling you that we can't pick you up because we got no drivers to service you. So we've done large wage increases to get new candidates. You know, we've done other things like create driving schools, which obviously comes as a cost. We're bringing on apprentices. We're trying to get become very creative in coming up with workers, which all comes at a cost. The other big impact that we've faced with going to an automated collection is the cost of the vehicles have skyrocketed. Not only is it very difficult to get these vehicles, but it's also really difficult to, you know, the cost of these vehicles. So when we talk about Old Orchard Beach, when we looked at that contract, just in the year and a half of since we negotiated that, the cost of the truck has increased well over $100,000. We were at just over $400,000 when we were purchasing the Old Orchard Beach truck. We are now at $560,000 for that truck. So it's an expensive truck. You know, what we will do is we'll do a split body truck where, which is why you don't see as big of a gap when you look at why every other week service for the recycling versus the weekly service. isn't as big of a savings is because the truck that picks up the trash will also be picking up the recycling. So we're gonna be driving by those houses picking up the trash anyway, so, you know, to not pick up it doesn't take that much more time just to pick up the recycling while you're there. It has 2 different compartments so when you dump the trash, you flip it over and then you dump the recycling into the truck. But, so pretty much, the biggest drivers in the cost has been to your point, it was 2019 when we did the last contract, and a lot has changed since then, and specifically the labor in the trucks.
How many employees do you have?
Casella overall has over 3,000 employees. Out of our market, which I run, which is in Southern Maine, we have around 225 employees.
Yeah, so labor's a big deal.
Labor's a really big deal for us, and that's why we're going to automated services, because we're really struggling to find people to ride on the backs of trucks and pick up trash. It's almost impossible at this point to find that labor. I think we all understand why we're going to automated, but it's a challenging just to find the laborers, but to even find the drivers. It has been. That's why we find Rick out in a truck a lot, not doing the job he was hired for. Is because we're challenged to find drivers, which is also why I would say we don't see a lot of people that put bids out on this contract, because they're also facing the same challenges and finding help and taking on more work is a challenge in this industry right now.
Well, as a summer community, we know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, what options will we have for the downtown barrels? What will those look like?
As far as the beach barrels?
No, beach, but I'm thinking downtown in Dock Square when it's on the corner.
The barrels.
The barrels we're picking up for the folks to put things in.
So John's concern is right now we have a very unique looking barrel with a top designed to limit input. And he is concerned with the automated pickup carts and the way that those will invite more trash and perhaps how they will aesthetically look at our downtown. And he's looking for what options you can provide.
Yeah, so the challenge with the automated service is it does not have the ability to service other types of barrels. So with the automated service, that they do need to be the standard barrel. I guess I haven't fully thought that through on how we could get creative to make them not an eyesore, if you will. I guess I don't have a full answer for you right this second. I would be happy to work with you guys.
Anything you could do that would be creative would be lovely.
Yeah, understood the aesthetics of that.
So are you set?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I when Chris mentioned this during the budget meeting last year, the talk about going to automated, I talked with him afterwards. And from the beach perspective, we talked about the barrels going away, and then it would be these containers with flip tops. So there's 2 problems down at the beach. One is that we have extremely creative raccoons, that if we offer flip tops, those things will be topped over, flipped over, and basically eaten every day. Even if you bungee cord them, they figured out how to take the bungee cords out. So, the flip, like John was talking about, a barrel that has, at the beach right now, that has, just small access, that is, and it's contained, that is something that the animals seem to be able to stay away from. So I'm concerned that the flip tops at the beach will just, we'll have massive garbage all over the place. And then the second thing that I talked with Chris about, and then Lori and John and others, is that at the beach, once we go to the automated pickup, we actually have the containers invite garbage, right? So at the beach, you have the containers, and then next to the containers, you will have beach chairs, Nerf footballs, anything else that anybody's walking off the beach to say, hey, there's garbage can, I'm going to leave that there. I know the beach committee, John, was thinking about, just reducing, eliminating the garbage together. So I think those two reasons, going to automation, sometimes when you go to automation or technology, it may, stop you from offering a service. And I think this could be one of those times because the ramification and the negative side effects from having a barrel down there and then having garbage that sits around the barrel that won't get picked up. I'm not sure, like Lori said, if we don't have a secondary town truck going around picking this stuff up, then we're going to have garbage.
It's definitely something that the Beach Advisory Committee is looking at as well. There's, and they share all your points. So it's something we're going to be looking at for the beach, the downtown, not so.
Yeah, so what we can do is we can get with our vendors and discuss with them as far as the barrels go and see if there's another option that they can provide us, for the, specifically for like the animals tipping them over. And, all over this country, people are communities are automating, and I'm sure.
This has to be,
yeah. This can't be the first time that's popped up. It is for us in this market, but we can definitely work with our vendors and see if there's an alternative barrel that can still be serviced with our truck and maybe provide a little more secure on the lid that would keep that from being able to get flipped over.
And I think that's good, but I think we still have a problem at the beach, which is the garbage that gets left next to the barrels. So I think from the board or the committee, we have to figure that out before we still say we're going to pick garbage up at the beach. We're just going to have these, once you go to automation, you're not going to have the nice person that gets off the truck picking up all the stuff that's around the barrel. And I think we can train people to do carry in, carry out, but I don't think once you have a garbage can there, it invites somebody to leave something next to it. And it's just how it's going to be. So, Lori, I don't know how we handle this, if we have to go back to John and the beach committee to see if we can make a motion not to have it collected at the beach and try that as an option, or.
So the Beach Advisory Committee, I'm sure, are going to review this, and what they would do is make a recommendation, and then the board would need to decide on that. And so unfortunately, we don't have that decision to make that a part of the contract right now, but we want to make you aware we would be very interested in negotiating that as part of the contract in the future. That would be a reduction, just so you know, in the contract when you don't pick up at the beach. And so, we will, on TV, you'll say yes, that you would do that?
We will, we can build it into the contract that, down the road, if this is something that happens, that we can already put something in the contract that says the rate will get reduced by the number that we're able to come up with.
We're talking carry in, carry out?
Carry at the beach.
Yeah, at the beach.
So it would just be the number, again, just the beach barrels of Goose Rock.
The number of beach barrels is small in comparison to the others.
Yeah.
But
I think it's
That's a good idea.
37.
Yeah, I think it's a good, in Florida, they do a lot of that.
They do it in York as well. Or
Yeah,
here,
it
so
just
that-
takes a while to
train people.
train people.
But if there's no other, if we're not going to have a town, somebody from the town go and collect all the garbage that sits next to the barrels, then, we got a negative side effect that is really bad right away. So I'll leave it to John and the beach committee, but.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's going to sell.
And do we have to talk about the Goose Rocks Beach going to Friday or Monday? Is that, so
I
it
think
would stay Friday.
they're open to Friday or Monday. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we would prefer Friday.
We do Friday the rest of the year,
Yeah.
so to me, it would
think
make
you just
sense to
keep-
just keep it on Friday,
you
because
just keep
otherwise
it
that would be
Friday.
confusing.
Yeah, I think that's clear.
Yeah, but that's where we would prefer to see it is continue to remain on Friday year round.
I missed the Friday discount. Where was it?
I think both of those added up to 200,000. That's the math I did in my head.
Pleasure of the board?
So,
Yep, good.
So we're good, we sound like we're good with the Friday at Goose Rocks Beach. We would leave the beach in there right now with the, waiting for the beach committee to come back and make a recommendation to the board.
So what you would do is you would authorize the town manager to enter into a negotiated contract for alternate option 1A for 506713, understanding that there will be a deduction in the contract should we go to carry in, carry out, which will be part of our negotiated contract.
And then what are you thinking of for downtown? Is that you're just, if it's the flip containers, it just stays the flip containers?
We're gonna have
If
something
there's
back.
no other option.
We're definitely have.
Worst
something.
case, it would be the flips. Okay.
So you want to make the motion?
Can you repeat that?
I'd like to make a motion. Hey, this is my first motion. Usually you guys beat me out. I'd like to make a motion that we approve to go into contract negotiations for option 1A as defined in our pamphlet, moving GRB to a Friday date, keeping downtown and the beach open for 506713.
And authorize Lori to enter into those negotiations.
Yes.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Good, okay.
We must be
5-0.
getting late.
You got, what, okay?
Yeah, thank you guys very much
Hey,
for all your work.
Thank you very much. Thanks for.
You guys do a good job, you really do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Lori, before we jump off, Mike and Lori, is it okay if I just ask some questions? Because it wasn't Casella's stuff, but it's just in terms of how we're going to handle the increase, what the thought is for the increase. So I know this bid didn't include, as we talked about, the
carts.
The carts, and so the carts are approved. We got 385,000 in capital reserve for them. And then do we have medium, high confidence that that's a good number, or do we think we have some risk to the 385?
So we have, I would say, higher medium confidence that that's a good number.
Good.
Of course, you know, over the last few years, we have seen things happen in the market drastically. Old Orchard Beach recently purchased theirs, and it seemed like their number was in that same ballpark. We do need to go out to bid separately. One of the issues is they will only hold the bid for so long before supplying them. And so once they supply them, we've got them on site. So we'd prefer to wait till after winter's over, you know, and then bid that out. And so we hope that price holds for next year.
Okay. And then for the annual, like 50-something% increase that we're going to be looking at over the 306 that we deal with now. So annually, is that, how are we thinking we're going to handle that?
Next year's budget process.
200,000.
It's next year's budget.
So, I mean, it'll be a driver in next year's budget.
Okay.
You know, to me, the worst-case scenario on the carts is if we didn't have enough funding once we bid them out. We could enter a short-term lease purchase agreement. I have talked to Androscoggin Bank, who does lease purchases. They don't prefer to do lease purchases on recycling carts, but I mean, to me, that would be the worst-case scenario if we were just a little shy. If we were really a little shy, you could take it out of contingency, but I'm hoping that that funding would allow, I think, the trash pickup is going to be a driver, and then in 2025, our processing contract is up, and so we need to renegotiate that as well. That will be another solid waste cost.
Okay. But the annual 200,000 that we're looking at that will impact our budget discussion when we have it in
Right.
June.
Some will have to give up, or will
I was just wondering if we had thought, you know, if we had already projected some hit, but that's okay. Thank you.
We hadn't projected that big a hit.
Yeah.
So July and August will still be on this contract in next fiscal year, so it'll be 10 months of the new
Yep.
price.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Award the bid for the Pier Road construction. Eric?
on August 10th of this year, we went out to bid for I'm sorry. On August 10th of this year, we went out to bid for the Pier Road contract. We opened those bids on the 7th, we held a pre-bid meeting on the 17th, and on the 31st, August 31st of this year, we opened those bids. We were pleased to see who was at the pre-bid meeting. We had some very good contractors from the state of Maine, specifically Shaw Brothers, Gorham Sand and Gravel. We had Wyman and Simpson, and as well as Sargent Corporation present in that meeting, and all four of those individuals actually submitted bids to us. Sargent Corporation came in at a very competitive bid, at $1.947 million. So we were happy with that. Our current grant funding right now is $2.585 million, which places us in a very good position, which with some of the other pricing we've seen as of late, we're very pleased about, because we haven't seen very high prices from our contractors. However, this being a winter project, I believe this was very attractive to their probably salaried staff and such, to be able to work them through the winter, because the project will begin in October and will be substantially complete at the end of May. So, so I think that did attract some of the larger contractors that might have staff that they keep on board during the winter. So, my question is, my goal here is to ask the board to approve them and award the contract to them.
I got a question. How are we going to consider my neighbor at 76 Pier Road's request?
In what?
Well, he has a concern about the height.
My goal is right now, because we've met with them in the field already. So we've met with Bill Garish as well. I've also just phone called with their attorney as well. I think at this point, the way that it was left with the attorney is that Bill Garish would provide us some information, and then we would review that.
Okay.
The project manager, Megan McDevitt, has been placed in touch with Bill Garish, has provided Bill with all the information, plans, permits, some communications with the DEP and the Corps of Engineers. That's all been provided to them. And at this point, we're really waiting on Bill. I'm presuming that Bill's is going to respond back to us. That's
He's got it ready to go.
Okay.
You should have it hopefully by the weekend, and you'll copy members of the,
All right.
Selectmen.
Perfect. So we've been,
Okay.
yeah, we've been working forward on that. We don't have anything to comment on at this point.
Okay. So,
So if there was a change, it would be an alternate to the contract, and we would need to negotiate that work with the owner as well as the grant. So remember that 97.5% of this is a grant fund through the state, and that is coming from federal funds, and so we can't just spend it how we want. It's not a bond, it's not from tax dollars, not our tax dollars. And so we need to go through that grant, and if the grant funding allows, we can bring forward an alternate. If the grant funding does not allow, then that would be a decision for the board.
So I have a question about just how to read this number. There's no contingency line in here, so how is the project is quoted, and then if something happens, do they come back?
Right.
A change contingency line in here.
Right. So there would be a change directive for us should something change, and then we would approve that change directive, and then they would go for it. The budgeting of the project had a contingency in it. I didn't bring the original estimated budget with us, which had a contingency in it, but the contract itself does not have a contingency. It's the award is based on the work that we estimated. There are some unit items such as
Oh, okay, so what you're saying is the 1.947 has the contingency in it?
It is all the items that we asked them to complete, and some items can be variable in there.
The 2.585 has a contingency in it, but the contract for 1.9 is just what they're bidding for the work we put out.
And it's fixed price.
They might have put a contingency in their pricing, but they didn't share that with us. Our contingency would fund things that wasn't part of that scope of work, or challenges that come up in that construction.
that's the contingency in the grant.
So that's the contingency in the grant. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have budget.
Yep. Yeah.
However,
I was
right now, we
missing.
start at this fixed point until they come forward and tell us unsuitable materials, need additional riprap or something of the like, which would provide a change directive, and then we would have to approve that. And that would increase the price, if
Okay.
that's the case.
And between the lawyers right now and the engineers, the 76 Pier Road, that's not, that looks like something that is doable?
I'd like to understand what the concerns are. So, so the perspective, the object was to have the engineer do a peer review. We'll provide them all the information that we have, and have them review that and give us the feedback on what their concerns are first. So, at this point, really, we haven't had a well, I think we've heard a little bit from Mr. Warner as to what some of his concerns are, but I've not seen anything from the engineers yet to say, you know, the technical basis for the concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he'll, if I may, he'll address those concerns. I outlined them.
So we
You
have
have
to.
you have to come up to the microphone.
So I outlined them tonight when I addressed you guys earlier. He will address all of those in his presentation to the town. We'll copy the selectmen so you're all in the loop on it, and hopefully get that to you by the weekend. He's done all his field work that he needs to do. He's ready to present it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So entertain a motion.
Go ahead, Mary Beth.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
I'm on a roll tonight, huh?
You're on a roll.
All right, I'd like to propose a motion to award the bid for the Pier Road construction to Sargent Corporation at a cost of $1,947,000.
Second?
$947,000.
$100,000.
Yeah, 1,000. What's a few thousand?
decimals.
Few decimals. What time
We
is
had a
it?
second.
Second, all those in favor? Yep, good. Okay, Eric, let's
Thank
get to
you,
work.
Eric.
Okay,
I'm back.
and number 13 goes
Oh, here we go.
along.
Very good.
Number 13 comes, is the award the Pier Road construction admin support contract to Woodward and Curran.
So when we started the project here, we actually paid for Woodard Curran through reserve through town funds at that time, not realizing that a grant would come so quickly. We were fortunate enough to get the grant, which is wonderful because it's a very good grant, I might add. So they completed the design. What they did not put what we did not fund at that time was the construction administration. We were only trying to take it to design at that point in bid phase. So we're now getting into the construction administration phase, and we feel it just makes sense to have Woodard Curran as the construction administrators in this particular project. Obviously, they're the design engineer as well. They understand what they've specified and what they've bid, and would like to contract them to be able to do the construction administration. The proposal is for $65,000 to do that. That's about plus $5,000 for doing some abutter, not negotiation, but just coordination with the abutters and such as well, which sometimes can be very variable depending on how much involvement there is. And that is about 3.5% of the overall project, which is very reasonable. I'll be clerking the project, so they won't have to be on site all the time. But it's good to have them in the background for processing pay requisitions, for responding to requests for information. Contractors will have questions about the designs and such, and just a lot of those types of technical questions that need to be answered.
And that percentage you said is reasonable from your experience, that that's
It is.
And this isn't covered by the grant, this is out of the,
My goal will be to
So-
try to get this under the grant.
So it wasn't originally part of the grant, but since the bids came in under, we were going to approach the grantee about
Yeah.
covering that cost.
It was built within the estimates.
We do have it in the budget as well, that we funded.
Okay,
Motion?
yes, motion.
So I'd like to move to award the Pier Road contract administration support to Woburn and Kern for $70,000.
All those in favor? All right, great. Good job, Eric.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go
You're
yet.
up next.
Authorization of the Ocean Avenue preliminary design contract.
You again.
I know, sorry. Yeah, let me,
You're costing us a lot of money here.
yes, well, yeah, we'd like to recommend, so we were having some flooding issues as well in other locations similar to Pier Road. Locations along Wamby Beach on both sides of Walker Point have been flooding. We've got some storm drain damage in that location, but we also want to evaluate the raising of the two sides of that to help at least allow traffic to be able to get down that portion of Ocean Avenue. Woody Curran we've asked Woody Curran to propose for us. We feel that we've enjoyed their services as an engineering firm. And also we've had good success with them with dealing with some of the public. Present situation, I understand aside, they've done a very good job for us. With our experience has been very good dealing with the public. So we have limited this one just because of some of the unknowns that we don't have. We just really wanted to try to get done the survey, the wetlands geotechnical, as well as the preliminary design, just so we begin to know. So when entering into this project, we don't always know how high we will be or how high they will be recommending things. So it's really difficult to go all the way through the design phase, not realizing the extent of the impacts. As we raise the road, obviously the impacts can be greater. Is there more geotechnical, so on and so forth? Not to bore you with all those details, but we chose to kind of keep it, let's figure out how high we want to be, just take us to preliminary design at this point. And at some point in the future, if we go forward or receive grants or what have you, we'll be looking for more scope. One, to finalize the design, to basically put it out to bid, and then there'll be construction services.
Will this raise all the way through Cleves Cove, or is it just the section there where the culverts have washed out?
So there'll be both sides. So
And
we are
it'll go
looking at
all the
both.
way past Cleves?
It's not going to Cleves.
It won't
I'm
go to
sorry,
Cleves.
maybe I'm not. So we're looking at.
Cleves is down by Halcyon.
Okay.
That's way down.
I'm sorry, yes. So we're looking at Wamby Beach as well as where the culvert damage was.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
So-
Wampy Beach, that's what I'm thinking.
So what's the, how do we look at a preliminary design? You talked a little bit about it. So is it 80% there?
I'd say it's probably 60, 70%. Some people, it's in that range. It's a lot of the legwork is really what it is. The rest of it is putting pen to paper often. It's getting all your field work done, getting all your geotechnical work, your wetlands work, so you understand what your impacts are, what kind of permitting is going to be required to do the work. Really putting together the nuts and bolts on what they were going, how large our impacts will be as we raise the road. Are we doing it within the footprint? Are we going to have to expand? Are we going to have, any kind of armoring that goes on? A lot of those questions get answered through the preliminary design process. And it helps inform how much cost it will be moving forward. So it's really it's quite a bit down the road, I will say. As an engineer, we look at these and we're like, it's not developing contracts and all those things. But
Yeah.
the rest of that is a lot of boilerplate after that.
But like the DEP and all the environmental are in at this point, or no?
There won't be the permitting is not.
We have Barry
Yeah, we have Barry
Chef
as well.
on Zoom, if anybody'd like to, do you want to bring
if
Barry
you
up?
wanna let him in.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, like, what the preliminary covered. So my questions really come back to, like, when Chris was talking through impacts and some of this originally, he talked to us about the culvert and how they sort of limped along in repairing that by the Bush compound,
Yeah.
right? And that it really was falling in on itself, and this was like, so I was just wondering this to me seemed like some priority thing because of the wetlands that sits on the other side of the road there.
Yeah, we did go out there and take a look at that. It looked like there's almost 2 projects at one time, so a portion of that pipe is looking pretty good, that we think we might just line.
But that's part of this.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is all
thank
part
you.
of this, yeah, we're gonna repair probably some of it, we'll have to replace some of it, I think that's.
Barry, did you have any comments?
No, I think Eric's hit the nail on the head. Sorry, Lori.
Don't be sorry, Barry, that's fine. I think our goal is to get to the point where we understand what the costs are going to be, what the impacts are going to be environmentally, as well as to the abutting property owners, so that we can better determine what solutions we want and where we're going to seek that funding.
Good, thank you.
So is there any interest in this?
Yeah, motion?
You want me to do the motion again? I have to say this, you guys are getting a little lazy down there. All right, so let's authorize, which one are we on? 13. Nope,
14.
14.
14.
I'm sorry, we're right here.
Okay, let's authorize that we move forward with the Ocean Ave design contract to Woodard and Kern for $97,300.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. All right.
Thank you.
Good job, Eric. Really good job. Update on the communication towers from the police and the fire department.
So we have Chief Everett and Chief Sanford here tonight. As you know, the town authorized the expenditure of our communication towers, the addition of towers, as well as the revamping of our radio system. And so they've been putting a lot of time and effort into that, and we are at that completion point, and I had asked them to come back and share with you what the results of all this funding and investment was.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so when we started back in 2019, looking at the radio system, COVID obviously threw us for a little bit of a loop as far as being able to get any more work done. But we've been working on issues with a 20-plus-year-old radio system at the time. Not being able to get our equipment serviced anymore. It was no longer supported by the manufacturer. Those types of things were part of the driver. So we sat down with a company to go through what would be the best thing for us to do. Took some different options and decided on changing from a single receive and transmit type setup like we had to a 3 transmit and receive site town. So that meant putting up the 2 towers, one at Goose Rocks Fire Station and one at the wastewater plant. And they, through microwave technology on the water tower, take all our signals in and out in milliseconds, and it increased the coverage on the town very dramatically. For the fire department, our bad areas were down at Cape Arundel and out towards Smith Preserve. Having an incident in Smith Preserve, I couldn't talk to a crew with a portable radio, portable to portable, out there. Where now I can talk from a portable and get into the system through one of the receive sites, and we couldn't do that before. Same thing down on Cape Arundel area. New Bedford Road was another one where you'd have to hold the radio up over your head to try to hit the tower to get the message in, which is obviously not something that you always have the ability to do, because we only have 2 hands and we might be doing other things. So fast forwarding through, we picked on doing this design. It's all been installed. I can speak for the fire department. It was money well spent. It's working really well for us.
That's good to know.
So it really is. We stayed on an analog platform for a simple reason that you can't page out the calls on digital. The PD went to a digital system. We have the capability in the fire department now to go digital, but until someone comes up with the technology to be able to page out a call while we're in the call company type fire department, it just wouldn't work for us. But we could flip the digital switch like that, because, well, everything we bought is capable of doing that. So we wouldn't have to redo again in order to do that.
Chief Sanford, can you talk about?
So, appreciate the support. I've got two examples. Memorial Day Parade. I was probably 25 feet from an officer. We couldn't talk portable to portable, so I could yell to him. You know, that's how bad the radios were. Last week I was in Augusta and I could hear our dispatch clear as a bell. So that's the improvement that we have. So it's, and when you're working out there at night by yourself and you need that radio, you need some help. So thank you.
Yeah, and can you just talk about where officers were having, I mean, because people understand it here's better, but I'm not sure people understand what the difference in operations is.
So, Dock Square, anywhere along Ocean Ave, Goose Rocks Beach, you know, it
Minor
was.
areas.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the phone, you know, that's how bad it was. And it only got worse. I mean, because all the technology we're adding in our houses deteriorates the signals, so.
Oh, right.
So that's what it was, but we appreciate the support, and the guys are really appreciative as well.
Oh, that's great.
Great.
Thank you.
I like the fact that they can now hear by the Smith Preserve. I really appreciate that one.
Okay, authorization of the public safety study contract.
So, in the budget, we had allocated $30,000 to do a public safety study, which was gonna involve, chems as well, on a platform of where we're separate now. Is this the best way for us to be? Should we be looking at other options, or are we good the way we are? But also what the fire department would look like in the future. So we had a committee, we put together a committee to come up with the RFP, which was comprised of myself, town manager, the chems chief, and the chairman of the board, of the chems board, Jim Stockman. The chems chief's name is Joe Carroll. And we came up with what we wanted to look for in the study. We came up with what the RFP would look like, and we put it out to bid, and we were able to get 5 bids back. They ranged in price from $110,000 to $28,000, and we had budgeted $30,000, so.
There's your answer.
Yeah. And so what we had decided to do after everyone on the committee was given all the proposals and given a certain amount of time to review them and come up with what they thought was best for the town and what we were trying to accomplish, we ended up with, sorry, let me back up just one sec. In the RFP, we put that they were due back on a certain date, and the following Friday, they would be an interview if we wanted to interview all or none. So we interviewed we decided on the 2 companies, the committee did, and we interviewed the top 2. So when you look at the way they priced out, it was Municipal Resources Incorporated and Public Consulting Group. So we had Zoom interviews. We came up with the questions, again, the same committee, we came up with all the questions. We did the process, and then spoke again on what our feelings were and why. And really, in a nutshell, for us wanting to go with Municipal Resources was they were under budget and can handle the job, but also they were gonna be more in person with the stakeholders, not, the members of the department. They're gonna interview you folks, the town manager, and do a lot of that in person, where Public Consulting Group was gonna end up on a 2 or 3 day trip to be here and try to interview everybody, and then everything after that was gonna be on Zoom, and we just didn't feel it was in the town's best interest to have it done that way.
Public Consulting Group is a totally remote workplace.
Yeah.
They don't have a headquarters someplace, so it would be a lot of virtual work.
And Municipal Resources is out of New Hampshire.
Yeah, and Municipal Resources had done the study in Wells in the last few years. We had gotten a reference from Wells on them. We thought that because of the culture of both organizations, doing that in-person work was really critical, and we liked their approach.
Yeah.
Good.
And did Wells, was Wells satisfied with?
As satisfied as Wells gets in the world.
Okay, all right, well, we'll leave it there.
Take that off the record,
Yeah.
please. Strike.
And Wells is similar where their EMS is its own
Okay.
separate entity.
Well, I'll make a motion that we award the bid for the public safety study to Municipal Resources at a cost of $28,485.
Second.
All those in favor?
So one other item is, we thought that as part of this, we're going to have those people that Jay discussed. We didn't know if the board wanted any representation on this public safety study as well to walk through that process.
Yeah, I would like to be there just in terms of the coordination with the long-term strategy work, if that's okay.
That's a good point.
With the rest.
I'd be interested in that also.
And Alan is the appointee to CHEM, so that would be, so Alan and Mary Beth have your blessing, right?
Absolutely.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, consider number 17, consider right-of-way agreement with tax map 34, block 1, lot 13, owned by Margaret and Clifton Mix.
Hi, good evening, members of the board. My name is Keith Richard. I'm an attorney with Archipelago, and I'm here with Cliff Mix, who's representing the Mix family tonight. I want to first just thank your town manager and Werner and Amy Chow, your attorney, for working with me, working with us, and coming up with this agreement. It was a year-long process, and I think that ultimately it's a partnership that benefits both the town and my client's property. The Mix family, and also the Palmers, have been at this property since 1903, so they've been going to Goose Rocks Beach for 120 years. So it's kind of remarkable the amount of history that I was able to get that I don't typically get from a client about this right-of-way and about their use of property. Old Seaweed Road was first laid out in 1827, and so it's obviously been...
And for those who don't know Old Seaweed Road, that's the Dyke Road right away.
Yeah.
Okay, as you commonly know it, thank you. The Mix family were signatories to the beach use agreement, so they are not in any way, they are very supportive of public access to Goose Rocks Beach. You know, they abut what is one of the more commonly traveled right-of-ways. So the idea of this agreement was for them to get a little bit of buffering and privacy, because they have had issues historically with people wandering off the right-of-way. There's a tennis court there that people have chained a bicycle to. Despite signs everywhere saying not to do that, people still do it because there's an opening. So the way that this is laid out, there's going to be removal of invasive species, so there's a vegetation plan. I think that this first came before the Conservation Commission, which was how the discussion started, to remove the bittersweet and to plant native species down there. There's also going to be an improvement to the seawall. Over time, the boulders have kind of fallen into the sand and I think actually encroached further into the right-of-way. The idea will be to pull them back, clean it up, and then to replace a fence that's been there at least since the early 1970s, I think longer.
Well maintaining that curve in the right-of-way.
Yeah.
That's important.
So it's going to be less encroaching. I think aesthetically it's going to look more uniform, and the closure of that opening is going to address what I think is kind of an imbalance between private rights and public rights, and to any situation where you're dealing with area where public-private property meet, there's always a balance to be struck there. So I think this agreement really does accomplish that. The Mix family is assuming the expense of the project. They're assuming liability. They are going to hold the town harmless. So I think that it's a very reasonable request. And again, I want to thank the people that spent the time to work with us and to come up with a plan that avoids really getting into any of the legal issues that are implicated by the situation, and just keeping in place what's been there for a great many decades.
And it's also, if I could, a mutual goal to get rid of all this bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I love you putting in the bayberry, too. That's.
You like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
That's
I'm
just,
glad.
yep.
We fought the battle of the bittersweet back to my grandfather.
Yeah,
It's a problem. So this will make it look nicer, we'll eliminate the bittersweet problem once and for all.
Yep.
And,
God willing. That's a tough battle, as you know, so you.
I have fought that battle.
Marvelous.
well, thanks. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Werner, do you have anything to add?
No, I think he did a great job, so.
All right.
Sorry you had to wait so long.
No,
Right.
I hope this is easier than the school board.
That
is a tough decision before you're there.
Yeah. That's why they pay us the big bucks.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So do
I'll
we
make
need-
a motion that we approve the right-of-way agreement with tax map 34, block 1, lot 13, owned by Margaret and Clifton Mix. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for working with us. We appreciate the partnership.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, next, we're going to have something that's near and dear to my heart. Presentation of digital tablet options for the Board of Selectmen members. Should
Was
be
that-
select.
Come on, Yanina.
Was Mike sarcastic or?
No.
No, he's
I've wanted
excited?
this for 2
Oh,
years,
okay.
3 years.
All right.
Stop killing trees.
Oh, hello again. Yanina Nicholas, Director of Support
I think you should
Services.
discuss that.
So, we'll see how that goes. But I'm here to talk about tablets for the Select Board. So about a year ago, my team was challenged with this task, and we did some research. We did a lot of research on finding a good tablet for the Select Board. The original goal for the tablet was for you just to review your packets. The reason for it, well, one, cost savings, because averagely I pulled out binders and it's about 500 pieces of paper per board member per year, and it actually increases tremendously right now. These packets right now here are 200 and I think 27 pages each. So that was the reason, number one. Second reason, which is on par with the first one, is environmental responsibility. Even though I recycle everything you leave in your binders, I responsibly recycle it, it's still not enough. I think we need to move in a faster pace with our environment. So that was the second reason. Efficiency and accessibility. As you know, even tonight, we were waiting for the final contract to be agreed on, and we waited to the last minute, and we had to print it the last minute. It would make it much easier for the town manager's crew if you would have tablets where we could just send it to you and go with it. Also, reduce storage needs. So as I said, I have binders and binders in the town clerk's vault with minutes and with packets. We'll probably still keep it in some shape or form. They're also stored on the website. But for your purposes, I know a lot of you keep these packets at home. So it would make it so much easier for you to keep it on the tablet. Also enhanced communication, and that's the piece that was added on. I think especially with more recent times, we felt the need of enhanced communication through Outlook, but also to kind of separate the work and life, because a lot of you dedicate so much time to this board time, and you do it while you're doing your own business. A lot of times I call Mike and he's out on a walk or doing something for his own life. So I think it would be important to separate this and have this just on this tablet. So my team did some research, and we had a long Excel of different devices and all kinds of, we read about different select board out in the United States and what they chose. But at the end, it came to two good options. One would be Microsoft Surface Go.
Microsoft what?
Surface Go, Go 3. That was the cheaper option. Or Apple iPad 10th Gen. So the reason for two of those options, I think it's the preference, if you're an Apple person or if you're a Microsoft person. There is no in between. But also, they would meet all of the functions. So they would come with a pen, so you'll be able to take notes if you need. My crew will take all the time to train, to work with you, to upload all the packets, to do all of the applications, to put all of the applications, and we will work with you how we'll go forward with it if you approve. But also we can add a keyboard. We don't have to do it now. You could buy it further if you would be willing to. In addition to this, we will be able to download the Outlook and some of the other Microsoft software programs where you will be able to utilize it and use it for communication and for these meetings or any other committee meetings that you go to. So that's what we're offering. I'm not sure if you have questions. I know Alan and Sheila might have questions.
Yeah, can we opt for paper?
So that's your decision. That's the option my team presented to you. I gave you all the reasons, but it's really ultimately up to the board and what you want to do.
Well, I've been wanting to do this for 2 or 3 years, so.
Yeah, I've heard.
And get shot down a few times.
Yes.
But I look at all of the paper that we get and the time it must take to put these books together. And then I keep very little of it. I bet a lot of us only keep very little of it. So I would much rather have a permanent memory that I can go back and look it up if I want to look it up. And I would much rather have something that I could look at that is not a whole bunch of paper. So, I mean, I'd be all for it.
Okay.
Sorry, Sheila. Sorry, but
I mean, we could do a.
There must be a way that we can do both.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a transition for each member, right?
Sure,
So
I think-
If somebody wanted to take longer to go from paper to.
Yeah, and we
tablet.
would be open to work on that if that's something that board is interested in. The only, I guess not request, but something I would ask you, it would be one, either it's Microsoft or it's Apple.
I agree.
That would be the only request we would have from my team.
Just for support, we got to do that. It's one or the other.
Yes, I think it makes sense for the future of the board because we will not purchase this for 1 day, for 1 year. This will be a on and on product. And it would be easier for my team to just learn one product and stick with one and help you with one.
Does your team have a preference? Do they know one better than the
Our
other?
preference is one that the board is going to adopt and use.
Yes.
I'm a big Apple fan, so I mean,
Okay.
I use Apple iPads now.
I'm
And
a big Microsoft fan.
I did
That's
ask
mine.
Hope and Dave to
Well,
research both, and they're literally on the same level, and it comes to Apple or Microsoft.
Well, the word is, to me, is fluid. So whichever they want to do, whichever people want to do, I'm willing to do it. But I prefer Apple, but if somebody wants to go.
So I think I prefer the one that's the easiest to take notes on. So what's important for me is to be able to take notes on as I read through
Exactly.
the packet, and then as we're moving through stuff, to be able to reference my
Yeah,
notes.
those notes easily referenced. as you're
Easily
moving through.
reference. And then the second thing I'd like to be able to do is to search. So
Yeah,
I'd like to be
that's
able to
fair.
type in a sentence or something and be able to
Yep.
go back. Because right now, I just got a whole bunch of paper files that I have to remember which board meeting that was to go back.
Yeah, and
do
it's
a search
absolutely fair request. And right now, the way I put the packets, we use Adobe. So in Adobe, there is a search function, so we don't scan them. We have a search function. If you scan them, you cannot search, but the way we put it, you can search through them. And I'm more than happy to do that.
So is that how I'm curious how they would be, or they'd be Adobe files? So the
Yeah.
photos, everything will be PDFs? Is that what the?
That's correct. We could go a different way if you would prefer go in different direction. Right now, the way I organize these files once I receive all the items from the department directors and from Lori is I use Adobe. It's just the easiest for me to shuffle pages, to insert pages, because I also have to insert all of those page intention left blank.
Yeah.
I have to insert all of those pages, and then for the website portion, I have to insert new item portion. So the Adobe was just the easiest program
That's
for
perfect.
this.
So this is all one Adobe file? Is it that how it works? So
Yes.
each book is one file?
That's correct, and you can find all of them online too. You will see it's one Adobe
If we
file.
wanted to search across Adobe files, is there a mechanism that'll do that?
I am more than happy to put them all together. What happens usually at the end of the year, I put all the agendas and minutes into one Adobe file so we can search if we need what the board voted on. So I'm more than happy to make
And then
all
you
the
could-
packets.
Then you could go to the packet of that, whatever came up. You could then go deep dive into that packet.
But during the year, you just have to go and just find it. That's
Yeah,
doable. That's
it's doable.
Yep, all right.
I don't think my team will have problem. I think it's whatever process you would like to establish, and we will work with you on that
So
process.
in Adobe, I'm able to put notes and have it be associated with the.
Yeah, you can put notes on the page.
And the notes become permanent file.
Yes.
In my copy, so each of us would have our own copy of the
That's
file?
correct, on your device, yes.
Yeah,
The
we,
device.
it's not, so it sits on the device, we don't,
It's
it's
not
not
shared,
from a
like a
central.
Google share or
No.
something,
No,
which is
it would
good.
not
I think
be,
it should
it would not
No,
be
I
a
don't-
Google
I don't
share.
think-
It would
I
be,
think we need to talk with the group about how they would want to handle it. I mean, some boards go to an online site that they have access to, and they access them from there. You would have to download it onto your device. And so whether you feel comfortable doing that, or whether you'd bring your device in weekly instead of picking up the packet, and staff would upload it for you, whatever the case,
Yeah.
we have to work that process
Yeah,
out.
I think the only key is that we have to be able to put our own notes on it and have it remain on our tablet.
And be searchable.
And searchable.
Yep.
Those
Searchable.
are like the really two things.
Yeah.
And I would say that if Sheila and Alan would go along with us, that we would defer to what they would like, if it was Apple or Microsoft, if they would go along with us.
I use Microsoft.
And I use Microsoft.
I use
It's okay with me.
Microsoft.
It's okay with
You
me.
okay, you cool?
Yeah, sure.
Microsoft, it's cheaper too.
I also use paper.
okay. Well, we can develop a plan and talk further about this, but I think we will need a vote.
Well, we would look to the selectmen contingency account for this expenditure.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're looking at a total
Yeah.
for Microsoft Surface, if we got pens and keyboard, of $3,150.
I'll make a motion then that we purchase 5, well, you're gonna need more than, no,
You need more than
5.
5. You guys gotta have at least one to work with?
No,
So you
we,
need to worry about yourselves.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so 5 Microsoft Surface Go 3 tablets with keyboard and pen for $3,100.
Okay.
150, don't forget.
Oh, 150.
That's cheap. That seems awfully cheap.
You gonna second that?
We try to be reasonable with price, because a lot of
Really? Gonna
Microsoft
second
products are up there.
Better do it. It's gonna do the job. I'm
Yes.
not gonna be coming back at you and want an upgrade.
You
No.
always want an upgrade.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Okay.
5-0.
You know, we're really stepping it up. I want to take it back and think about all we did. We're getting a new website,
We have
you know,
new radio
we've got
towers.
radios
We
that
got
we can
right at
talk,
work.
that people
We're
can
moving
hear
to good
each
technology.
other.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yanina.
Nice
A
job.
lot of work,
Okay.
Nina.
Accept a generous $500 gift from Gene Perkins to the nurse's account.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in
Grateful.
favor? Aye. Other business? Mary Beth, you get to go first.
No, I'm good.
You're good.
No, thank you.
Alan?
Yeah, I have one thing to say.
Good.
Softball was a success this year, even though it was quit early. Everybody had a great time, and we're gonna do it again next year.
Good.
Thanks for heading it up.
Had a great time.
Yeah, that's good.
Sheila?
I have nothing.
I have one thing, and I forgot to bring what I was supposed to bring. I got a nice letter from the Daughters of American Revolution, and they reminded us that next week is the 17th through the 23rd is National Constitution Week.
Oh.
So I have a proclamation that I was supposed to read, and I was supposed to bring, and when I left tonight, I just didn't bring it. So what I would like to do is to have a vote to approve the proclamation, and what I will do is have it posted down at Town Hall.
Nice.
So moved.
Second.
Absolutely.
All those in favor? Okay,
Very good.
Thank you. That's nice.
that's it for me. Lori?
So we had Chalk the Port last weekend. It was a great time in between rainstorms. And so, and so we were,
lucky on Saturday.
yeah, we were able to salvage the art from the Friday rainstorm. Ended up having a great day on Saturday. A lot of people came out, enjoyed themselves. Artists created some beautiful works of art. If you couldn't see them because Sunday it rained on them, then they're captured in film on the town's Facebook as well as the rec. So kudos to the team who worked very hard. It's a lot of work to put that together, and it benefits the Recreation Scholarship Fund.
Amazing.
Also, Yanina Nicholas, Director of Support Services, put on the first session with Tracy O'Rourke of the Citizens Academy. The Citizens Academy is a new initiative we've done this year, and so I'd like Yanina and Tracy to tell you how it went. We have one of our star pupils right here in the audience.
Yes, I just. If it's nice, please do. So as Lori said, we launched our first Kennebunkport Citizens Academy. Yesterday was the first session. It was called Government 101. We talked about about Maine, about county, and about our municipality, general division, and decision-making in our municipality. I also talked a little bit about my department, support services, and then Tracy talked about her department, which was town clerk's department. And I don't know if you want to.
I thought we had a really nice group. Everyone seemed engaged and eager to be there, so it was inspiring just to feel their enthusiasm too.
How many people did you get?
So we have 16 residents signed up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it was wonderful, and that was a.
We wanted to cap it at 15 for this first go-around.
We did, but I received a phone call from a very nice lady, and she wanted to join. I was like, yeah, sure, of course you can join, because why not? This is for all of you. So we have 16, and I think we have a wonderful group, and we have 4 more sessions to go, and those should be fun and engaging.
And what are those going to cover?
Huh?
What are those going to cover?
So the next session will be, is called It's All About Money. So it will be all about finance. And Lori, Nicole, and Becky will present that session. The next session after that will be about public works. And I asked Parks and Recreation to lend us a bus. So we're going to do a tour of the facilities. And actually, Eric LaBelle right there did give me a tour, so we could be like on time, and I was like, just cut it, do it good. So Eric is prepared. And then session after that will be about emergencies, so it's going to be police and fire. Both police chief and fire chief the group will meet here, and they will talk about their department's needs, details, small little details, give some advices, and then they will show the equipment. And the last session is called Let's Plan, and Warner Gilliam will present his department. We will talk about zoning ordinances, land ordinances, about short-term rental, and all the projects he has. And we will discuss what's the future of Kennebunkport. So again, Kevin McDonald here is one of the students.
I know I'm supposed to come up. Kevin McDonald, Kennebunkport. So first night was great, very informative. They went through all kinds of great information about how our local government works, and it was really good. And I was astonished at the amount of work that Tracy has to do to get prepared for each of the elections. She kind of went through the steps and all the notifications and everything else, and I was tired after I heard all of it. But it was really good. So it was a great idea to do this, and I think it's really good for folks to learn, kind of the nuts and bolts of everything that you have to go through, because I don't think people normally see that and
That they
understand it.
don't appreciate
So,
everything that
appreciate
goes
it.
on.
Yeah, so it was very good.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the next sessions.
Thanks, Kevin.
Although I'm having to miss the tour, so, because I'm going to be out of town.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. So that's it.
Thank you.
Very
you.
good.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Very nice. Thanks, Tracy.
Okay. Anything else, Lori?
That is
Oh.
it.
Approve the town warrant.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, look at that.
All those in favor? Good, okay.
Thank you,
We got
everybody.
anything to sign tonight? Can I borrow your pen? I've got.
We got done before 9.